Okay, so now I feel like we should watch Necrit's explanation of the trailer for the second season of Arcane. I mean, he's literally the goat of the League of Legends lore. So he made a long ass video explaining 4 minutes, that 5 minutes that the trailer was, like a really short video. So let's see what he shows, what he explains in here. I'm interested. Like it. The only thing that I'm remembering right now is Vi is probably gonna fight Work Week. We haven't seen Jace or Victor in the cinematic or the trailer. So I don't know. Maybe I know Necrit knows a lot. So let's see what he has to say.
Is this my legacy now? Alright, so everyone
two
knows what's going
minutes. It was
on.
actually two
Arcane 2
minutes.
came out with its first trailer.
Holy shit!
Yes, previously it was always a teaser, never a trailer. And so we only have one job, to go through the entire thing frame by frame and explain whatever is happening there. And let me tell you, the things we are gonna talk about are gonna be wild. Now, before we start, there is one thing I want to mention. When I released my original reaction to the trailer, it got claimed by Netflix. And so I had to cut out the peer reaction and turn it into more of a first impression. Now, some people got upset because making any kind of marketing public means that anyone should be able to watch it, and that Netflix should not hold copyright over the trailer. But truth be told, the system works as intended. Remember, all the shots from the trailer do actually appear in Arcane 2, which means the copyright is not looking for people re-uploading the trailer. They are looking for people who are re-uploading Arcane. And especially since Netflix know that there are leaks out there now, they have to be aggressive about it. So it is what it is. I could play around the system by putting a bunch of things on screen to kinda like hide the copyrighted material, but oh well. I would rather spend my time making an hour-long analysis. Nay, that will not be my legacy, we can go faster. So without further ado, here's the trailer for Arcane 2. It all begins with a quick recap of how Arcane 1 ended. It's just
Yep,
Jinx
I
walking
remember
up
that.
with fish bones, launching the Hextech-infused rocket from the rooftop of a former factory, which by the way, I now realize that was the place where the original Jinx incident happened, so that is the place where Jinx was born, and it shows us a quick recap with all the council members. Mainly we can see Caitlyn's mother, Mel, and Jace. And while
Mel.
this scene is playing out, Vi is telling Caitlyn that she was right. Her sister was gone and there was only Jinx now. Which is exactly what Caitlyn told her. We have heard that line in a previous teaser. And as Vi is saying this, we can see that she already has the Warden uniform. But more importantly, she is wearing
Oh, she
Clagger's
is.
goggles, which is interesting. As far as we know,
Oh,
up until
cool.
this moment, Jinx is the one who had these goggles because she was using them for the Clagger doll. Although those
Wait, so
were
how did she
obviously
get them?
broken. So maybe these are just the same kind of goggles, but they are new. Anyway, the point is, this is the first time we see Vi with a design that is very close to what we can see in League of Legends. Then we get a quick shot of Caitlyn. Not much to mention here, besides the fact that she is slowly getting into her sheriff outfit. The new wanted poster of Jinx then reveals that after the destruction of the council, Jinx is indeed a wanted criminal now. Then we get a few shots that were previously shown in other teasers. It is Jinx's explosives going out in front of the gates to Piltover, and then we can hear the faint laugh of Jinx as this figure appears. Now, I'm pretty sure that everyone could have guessed that this is Jinx. Not only is there her monkey drawn on the wall behind her, but also you'll see a similar design for Jinx later. The only thing we can point out here are the two ribbons flowing behind her. This may seem like a random thing to point out now, but later you'll see there is something really cool happening with these. Lastly, it is
Okay.
cool to see how she is framed by fire on one side and blue electricity on the other. This is reflecting on the thematic of Hextech and fire all around Jinx's chaos. And then we get this amazing
see, okay,
reference.
interesting.
You can see all the destruction in the city, with
Oh,
everything
Caitlyn
being
doesn't have
framed
the
in red
new
smoke, and
sniper
Caitlyn
right
comes
here.
out to reload her gun. Where have we seen this exactly? in the very first scene in Arcane. That's when the bridge was bathed in red, everyone was dying, and we got that one cruel warden reloading his rifle. This is referencing
Oh,
how Caitlyn now became the oppressor Vi and Jinx always fought against. I have to be honest, this is so good. But of course, as you may know, Vi
okay. I
may be
mean, we still don't
leaning
have the
towards
context
the
of the scene,
rebellious
but sure.
side. And the first hint of this is her nose being broken with a patch trying to fix it, and the faint shadows underneath her eyes. Which is followed by Vi's training montage, where she is training to fight in arena, likely for money, and to vent. And here you can see that she also dyed her hair black.
This
But
is
because
probably
this is
gonna be
like
the
baked in
beginning.
between the fights in the arena, the black is also fading away, so some of the pink is coming out. Honestly, I kinda believe that all of this is gonna be a separate persona. You know, it's like taking on a WWE character. And we'll see more of that later. Then we can see Vi preparing her gauntlets, but here, once again, she even has a black jacket. After this, we go back to the original shot that revealed Caitlyn's squad, and I am pretty sure the trailer showed this to us to give us a reference of where Vi is starting from in Season 2. She starts as a good guy, or at least a subjective good guy. No broken noses and no shadows underneath her eyes. And interestingly enough, no Clagger goggles either. And then it goes back to the training montage where Vi just screams, likely trying to reflect on where she was before she got here. And then we get some quick framing
Okay,
of the
makes
Hex
sense.
Gate. This is the relay that has the power of quickly transporting Zeppelins around Runeterra. And I do believe there is a good reason why this Hex Gate is the focus point of the story here. Again, it will come up in a moment. After this, we can see Caitlyn standing above the city in her sheriff outfit. This is very carefully framed so that Caitlyn would have a sense of authority over the city. And here you may notice a new red building. I wonder what
Oh.
that is. It will also come up later. And then it goes to
Okay.
Ambessa in her counselor outfit, who is saying that to bring the city together, they have to declare martial law. Now, if you don't know what that is, martial law is a temporary ruling of military to put a country back in order. So Ambessa basically wants to storm Piltover and Zone and make everyone sit down. Also, because Ambessa is a counselor here, it is extremely likely that Mel is either dead or she was injured badly enough that she can't fulfill her role anymore.
That makes
Especially
sense.
for Noxus, this would be a very normal thing. Now here, she is talking to someone in an orange coat. The context would suggest that she is talking to Caitlyn, because Caitlyn would be in charge of the military. And that is likely the case because this coat honestly doesn't really fit any of the other council members, and we don't even know if they survived. So, who knows? Which is followed by the arrival of the Noxian army. So regardless of whether martial law happens or not, Noxus
Wait, are we gonna see Swain? Maybe LeBlanc? Oh shit.
is gonna do their Noxian things. And as a bit of a foreshadowing, right after the wall of Noxians, we also get a wall of Piltover enforcers, who are marching into Zone. Which is followed by one of the Fireflies, which is Echo's gang, if you forgot, being smacked by a Warden. Then we can see the Warden setting up walls to likely isolate themselves not only from Zone, but also possibly from Noxus, especially if Noxus arrived by Zeppelins, because you can see the arrival sign as well as customs in the background. And then we go back to Zone and we can see the original building where the original Barons had their meetings. This is the original building where Silco essentially gassed everyone into obedience. And you can see the building has the 5 sigils on it, one for each Baron, with the Eye of Zone representing Silco. Then we go back to Sevika. This is a scene that was shown in the previous teaser, and it's one where she saves Jinx using Jinx's own gun. This is simply because despite Sevika not really liking Jinx based on previous encounters, she is still the enemy of her enemy. Jinx is also against Piltover, and they were both loyal to Silco. The interesting thing to point out here is that I'm pretty sure Sevika is going to keep the gun. And you'll see why
Okay.
later too. Which is when a bit of a jump scare happens. Sevika has new hair. I don't know what that really means. But more importantly, she is talking to someone who
Yes,
has a
definitely something
chance to
happened.
rally the people of Undercity. From context, she definitely suggests that she is talking to Jinx. It would make sense given what happened to her. But remember, it is Fortiche, so take nothing for granted. I wouldn't be surprised if this was yet another misdirection and she ended up talking to Victor. You'll see later that he can be an icon too. Anyway, as we
Wait,
get
he's
these cool
right.
shots of Jinx, a whole new thing
I mean,
just
Victor
got
is pretty much a
unlocked.
villain
It
in
seems
the
like Riot
lore.
decided to pay attention to all the things that are happening with League's IP, and they are making the inks fully canon. Now, most
I don't
of
know
you
what that is.
will not know about this.
Yes.
But the Inks is a group of fanatics who follow in Jinx's chaos. To
Oh.
them, Jinx is an icon. And they were first revealed in the Convergence game. So it seems like Arcane 2
So it's gonna
will
be-
show us how this group came to be. And here we
Okay.
can also point out how bright pink her eyes really are. Obviously, it is an artistic decision to frame the blue of Powder against the pink of Jinx. But interestingly enough, Jinx's eyes are only bright pink during strong emotions. Usually they are only faintly pink, if not grey. And that's because it's all dictated on when Shimmer decides to kick in. Anyway, then we get this Jinx painted as a symbol. This is cool for numerous reasons. First of all, notice the city below Jinx. It is
It's
filled
Vi.
over, buried in colors.
Vi is
Of
right
course,
there.
you will see this happen later. Then you can see the doves, which are technically a symbol of freedom for Zaun. Because back in the ancient days, the ancient Zaun worshipped Janna, the spirit of wind, who of course had Zephyr, which is the white bird you might recognize from League. And then of
Okay,
course there
yes,
is the
I
fun
do.
fact that here you can see Jinx standing in the pose as if she was holding the blue torch as she did in Arcane 1. Also, Vander is behind her. This is
True.
awesome because to the people of Zaun, Vander was always kind of a godfather, especially during the days of him being in charge of the last drop. So people believe that Jinx is following in his example. What people don't realize is that she is technically taking the spot of Silco here. So instead of Silco and Vander, it is Jinx and Vander. But of course, while Jinx is the modern replacement for Silco, Vi is the modern replacement for Vander. I mean, she even got his original gloves. Which is why it is so cool to see Vi here in her rebellious outfit. Not only does it tell us that Vi should be up there as an example instead of Vander, but also it is an amazing contrast to how Jinx became a symbol and Vi is the rebel. All while their roles should be reversed. But that is still not where the Easter eggs end here, because all of this is also a reference to a scene from Arcane 1. It's the one where Vi is standing in front of the original mural back with the fireflies. Except now, she's here alone. Also, the fans in front of Vi kinda spells out Fortiche, and they are really known for hiding their names everywhere. Moving on, we can see people lighting up the blue torches, just like Jinx did in Arcane 1, which will be likely the starting point for the Inks. And yes, Savika was there to witness the beginning. Also, everyone starts lifting their fists, which follows the pose from the mural. And that is then followed by Savika asking, "What are you planning?" And that is followed by Jinx saying, "To watch it all burn." The thing is, I am pretty sure Fortiche is tricking us again. These are two unrelated scenes because the background behind Savika is not matching Silco's office. So I'm pretty sure they just stitched together something to hide the story. Anyway, between these two, we also have Jinx just holding the match. Now, based on her appearance, I'm gonna guess that this is gonna happen at the very beginning of Arcane 2. It seems like this is gonna be right after she accidentally killed Silco, which would mean, to hide the evidence, she might wanna burn the body, right? Yeah, there is a slight chance things might get brutal, but at least Silco might get a Viking burial. And then there is a scene that might be the breakpoint of Vi going rebel, because her hair is not black yet. And I also absolutely love the amazing detail in the cut across her Vi tattoo. It hints that, just like Powder, Vi is no more. And so she would go towards her emo story arc. We then have a few seconds of a falling match. I am disappointed that Fortige didn't hide their name in the fire again. We get Mbessa getting ready for war, likely in the middle of all of Jinx's colors going wild, and we can see the match finally making contact with a liquid that has rainbowy reflections. You
Gasoline.
know, a highly flammable gas and stuff. And then we get
Oh
this.
shit.
Now at first, it might look like a regular scene, but things might go wild here.
Stop, Victor.
So we can see Caitlyn's elite squad handling a goon. I saw a lot of people speculate that this might be one of Smeech's goons, which honestly would make sense because in the previous
there's no way
teaser,
that
they
is
were
him.
beaten by Savika and Jinx. This would explain the colors sprayed over him. However, the more important part is the background. The contraption behind him seems to be a wind turbine. I mean, it is obviously a bunch of plates propelled by the wind, which would mean that below this contraption it would have to be connected to something bigger that is rotating. And what could that be? Well, it could be Jinx's original hideout. The giant propeller thing underneath Piltover. What's also cool is that the lines around it seem to hint for an uplift. And then the blue colors erupt. Why is this cool and why am I hyping this up? You'll see later.
Okay.
Yep, just be ready that there is a lot of setups in this trailer. Anyway, then the entire city gets covered in colorful smoke. You can see the Incognium Runeterra being blown up. Fun fact, this is a device that was originally meant to track any person around Runeterra, but the owner of this device died and he never told anyone how to work with it. Also, it can be turned into a nuclear weapon. And as
What?
all the colors are going wild, we can see this. A banner showing Jarvan the Fourth. Now, during Arcane 1, Fortige hid a lot of non-canon Easter eggs around. For
Okay.
example, we could find some Pentakill posters and even Gentleman Cho'Gath. But this is far too much in our eyes to be just an Easter egg. I believe this is actually a banner of Jarvan the Fourth in Piltover. And the reason why this is interesting is because it would make sense for Demacia to try and prevent Piltover falling into Noxian hands. If Noxus successfully takes over Piltover, Demacia is kinda screwed. So maybe Arcane 2 will also give us a bit of a Demacia versus Noxus storyline. Honestly, this banner alone just opened a massive gate for future storytelling. And then finally we got a payoff for some of the setups. So here, once again, we can see Piltover getting covered in Jinx's smoke, to which you might ask, was this entirely done by Jinx? Nope,
There's
this
no
was
way.
most likely the work of her fanatics, because this is the scene we saw on the mural. The cool thing to point out here are the Noxian boats around, as well as, I don't know, the massive Noxian building in the middle of Piltover. Yeah, that is a whole new building, and I'm pretty sure
Wait.
that's gonna be Mbessa's headquarters. I kinda love how the tip of the building is hinting the Immortal Bastion. Then we have a quick shot of Silco's former goons
Holy
fighting
shit.
for Zaun. On the right, you might remember
How many
Chuck
episodes
from
this
his
is gonna
scene at
have?
the bar with Jinx. Wait, that's not Chuck, that's Theorem. And the other one is the woman who was with Silco when they went to Marcus's house to interrogate him. Then we can see a bunch of people rebelling against the Wardens. And interestingly enough, one of them looks suspiciously close to the bad guy from Echo's group. Then we also have Mbessa leading the charge in a very interesting place. Here, notice the weird, almost organic looking ball, as well as these warped fences. Also notice how
Okay,
this general
yes.
place is dark, but there is light coming down from the top. Almost looks like they are in a hole. And well, overall, it seems like this scene fits the next shot. Another weird organic ball with twisty fences around it. I'm not entirely sure if that's the same place, but it does look
What is
similar.
that?
Anyway, this is where things start getting interesting. Because this looks unlike anything else that was shown in Arcane. Well, maybe besides the Hex Core. That's right. This is likely what's gonna happen if you let the voidy power of Shimmer loose. I'm not entirely sure what this is, but I do
Okay.
have a theory. This might be a fallen hex gate. If you look at the structure in general, you have the ball in the middle with the two wings around it. To which you might argue, well, this one looks different though. To which I'd like to correct you, that is exactly what the void does. Anything it touches, it melts it, it deforms it, it makes metal look organic. Just like this. To drive the
Wait,
point
he's right.
further,
Look at
look at
this.
these
Look at 1 second.
metal
God damn
look
it.
organic. Just
Look at it right here. It looks like, yeah, look at it. Look at it right here. He's right.
like this. To drive the point further, look at these images of the void around Icathia. It is organic structures with hints of gold, very similar to this. And interestingly enough, the reason why I do believe that this
So we're
is
gonna
a
have the
fallen
void?
Hexgate is that besides just a similar appearance, I am pretty sure these are crashed zeppelins all around it. So it seems like someone took down the Hexgate, possibly someone who didn't appreciate Noxus invading Piltover, and
Demacia.
then some crazy experiments happened with it. This then continues with a quick shot of Singed, and since it is Singed, of course, we get Warwick. Now, first things
I
first.
can't wait.
Warwick is red here. And
Yeah,
I
he
don't
should
know
be
why, because everyone
green.
knows Warwick is green because of the Chemtech. I mean, the very first teaser showed us that it is green anyway, so it's just weird lighting. And also the details shown here are pretty close to where Warwick is supposed to be. He has the catalyst device on his back, which is supposed to be driving Chemtech into his body, which is what makes him go feral. But unfortunately, he still does have one human arm. So this is not the full Warwick that we know him as. This is just an early stage. Also, fun fact, the claws on his mechanical arm are supposed to be retractable. It is kinda like Wolverine, and it is supposed to be Singed design. So I wonder if we're gonna see that. And of course, you have the red lines going from his eyes, which is definitely referencing the VFX on his W in the game. Interestingly enough, we then get this shot of the Hexgate, with some magical threads in the air around it, and the clouds are forming a hole around it too,
Wait.
making it almost the focus of Piltover magic. Maybe that's what caused it all to crash. And then things go absolutely wild. We have a voidy
We're for sure gonna have something crazy going on here, like something like cosmic level bullshit for sure. And this game or this lore, this universe has a lot. So we're probably the the Arcane fans, not the League of Legends lore fans, but the Arcane fans are for sure gonna have a little hint of what the lore of this game or this universe has in terms of craziness.
voice saying that the Arcane is waking up. The wild thing is, the Arcane is a thing that was never mentioned in the history of
lore.
League's story.
True.
The closest thing we have to Arcane magic is probably Zerath, which is where some wild theories started to erupt. So
No
obviously
way.
we can see a bunch of people with weird runes being morphed by gold. At first glance, it all looks very voidy, but instead of purple, it's all gold, just like the details around the void in Icathia. Now, technically, if we want to talk about arcane magic, the source of Zerath's power comes from the sun disk of Shurima, with Shurima having a very long history with fighting the void, which would mean I have exactly zero idea what is happening here. And I'm
Same.
really curious to see just what Riot pulls off here. Is this gonna be related to the Void? Is it gonna be related to the Sun Disk? Are we getting Celestial magic back? All I know is that I can see potential Hextech Gate wings in the background. So all of this is happening in the same scene. Although there is one more thing to point out here. We don't really know who is the Voidy voice here. And technically, I have to say, it could be someone like Mel. I strongly doubt Kaisa is making it into Arcane. See,
Nah,
it is
there's no
possible
way.
that Jace and Victor are helping Mel survive using the power of the Hex Core. Also, yes, I am aware that Jace was also in that explosion, so crazy things might be happening. Anyway, this is also where the blink of gold at the end of Arcane 1 might be foreshadowing. Maybe that power of gold is what's gonna save Mel. And if that ends up being canonical Zonya's hourglass, I'm gonna lose it. But again, that's just all wild theories.
That will
Then
be
we get a
super
quick fight
funny.
between Jinx and Vi. This all happens in a room that was previously shown in the teasers. It features drawings of pretty much the entirety of Jinx's life. Also, at the very back, you will later see Janna on the wall. We can then see some Chemtech tanks getting some upgrades, a very artistic reload from Caitlyn, which made me realize she still has the old Kiraman rifle here.
Yeah, she
Later,
doesn't
she is
have the new
supposed to get
one.
that replaced for her sniper rifle when she becomes the sheriff. Then we get Echo and his crew diving into some Noxians. We can see they are fighting back with arrows and stuff. And once again, Echo changed his outfit. Now he has a hair bun and he is wearing a crop top. Not to mention, he is wearing his old mask on his knee, which is a reference to the kneecap he has in League. Also, he is covered in Jinx's paint, and I wonder if that is teasing their encounter. And once Echo gets down, you can see that the Noxians were holding back the Wardens. Also, one of the Noxians seems to be really chunky. I doubt that is Scion or Urgot though. Anyway, it means that in this case, the Zonites and Piltovans united against Noxus. And for a split of a second after that, we can see that Echo already built his Z-Drive, which is the device that allows him to go back 12 seconds in time. So get ready to some action with that. After which, we get another awesome shot.
This season is gonna be
Jinx
so good.
Holding Zappy. Now, Zappy is the gun that everyone remembers from League of Legends, because that's the one that makes the electric trail. Which also may make you realize, yep, the gun she had before was just a gun. But now she finally got her Zappy. Which is also why I mentioned that Savika is likely to keep the old gun. That is, unless Zappy is just augmented version of the original gun. Here, you may also notice that because of Shimmer, her eyes are going pink again. But also, a lot of people pointed out that here, she might have a mechanical finger. I'll be honest, I am down for all kinds of bad things happening to our favorite characters, but that might be just a brace to hold the power of the gun. So yes, it looks mechanical, but I would say it is about 50-50 whether she actually lost her finger. You simply can't tell from these shots. Also, one more thing, if the crystal at the front of the gun is a Hextech crystal, that's a chunky one. This gun likely has a kick. Then we go back to what seems to be Jace's lab. We can see whatever this explosion is, it is spreading around the same runes which we saw in Arcane 1 when
the first season, yes.
They did their experiment. After which we get a suspiciously voidy glitchiness for a globe inside a globe. Now here, some people notice that the patterns on the walls look exactly like the patterns which were shown when they were doing close-ups of the Hex Gate. Which could mean this is likely the Hex core going wild. And yes, that might be all related to what happens with the Hex Gate. And when the core then blows up, which by the way, we can't even see what blew up, so that might be an entirely different scene, we can see Heimerdinger getting caught in the explosion. And for literally one frame, we can see that Yordles have bones. Which is kind of weird because they are technically immortal magical beings. Why do they need bones? But still, this looks like a metal album cover. Please write, put it on a shirt. Then we get a shot of Echo saying that every leap means leaving something behind. And as he says that, you can see the paint on his face wiping off. Which kind of foreshadows what happens next. Because here we have Echo with a clean cut in clean clothes, who likely seems to be working on his Z-Drive. I wouldn't be surprised if he dressed like this to get into Academy where he could work in Jace's lab. And then there is a scene with what seems to be the Hex core completely transformed. The chances are all of this seems to be used in the same experiment that keeps getting teased. And the reason why I'm saying this is because in the very last frame, you can see Jace here. Yep, that is him in his suit. And it is likely that he was there with Heimerdinger when things went wild. And you'll see why in a moment. After this, we can see the full emo version of Vi. I'll be honest, there is exactly 0% chance we are not getting this one as a skin in League of Legends.
That is a skin for sure.
We already have the Vandal skin line, so this one fits right in. And
that is gonna be a skin, we all know that.
Hound on her back.
Yeah, that's cool.
The two heads could be representing Vi and Vander. Because Vander used to be known as the Hound of the Underground. And there is a quick clash between Savika and Caitlyn, which is interrupted by a rocket hitting a nearby building. In the aftermath, you can see that Savika has the chompy arm that was likely made by Jinx, and Caitlyn already has her new sniper rifle with the net launcher. We then also get Jinx in a seemingly similar scene, and then we have Caitlyn, who now has a Hextech railgun. I'll
Yeah,
be
that shit is
honest,
crazy.
this one is entirely new and I don't really have anything to add. Which is followed by Ambassa going wild on the front lines against the Warden.
Dude, this show is gonna
This
have a
likely
lot
means
of
that the
action, huh?
martial law didn't go through, and so Noxus is trying to take over Piltover using brute force. Also, I genuinely believe this is what Ambassa is gonna look like in the game. We know she's gonna be in the game, and this one looks cool.
Actually,
Also,
yes, I
wouldn't be
remember that they
surprised if
confirmed.
her counselor outfit was her launch skin. Then there is Vi saving a warden from an explosion, and I am pretty sure this is around the time Vi is gonna go rebel mode. Because you can see she already has the cut across her cheek, and she has the same burn on her face which she had earlier on. Then there is also this quick
Oh, yeah.
fishman from Caitlyn's squad, and you can see that they are holding back Noxian ships. So some of them will likely arrive using the river, which is where we get to the awesome part. Caitlyn looks up in the middle of all the chaos, and Jinx gets a new skin. Yes, there is...
She might actually have like a metallic finger. She's probably gonna lose a finger. There's no way. This one even has a different color. This one is like gold. The other one was like dark. Like the classic metallic color. Interesting, huh?
There's no doubt Vi is getting her Vandal skin and Jinx is getting this. And that's because this is where a lot of things start paying off. So first things first, the design. The mechanical finger still kinda looks mechanical. The hood very clearly mimics fish bones. The rocket launcher that turned Jinx into who she is now. But also you might notice that not only is her hair dyed to merge the blue and pink, which symbolically shows Powder and Jinx combined into the new Jinx, but also her hair is cut. Or at least that seems to be the case. So now you might be wondering, how are they gonna turn this into a skin? Wouldn't that break the silhouette of the champion? Doesn't she need the two braids to flow behind her? No! She has the two ribbons, remember? So this is a setup for a skin, I'm telling you. But
oh my god, these
important,
motherfuckers are so smart. God. Jesus, Riot.
Scene, you may notice that
Okay.
Jinx is standing in front of a wheel, making it seem like she is piloting something. This could be symbolic, hinting at the fact that Jinx finally something has under control, but there is likely a lot more behind this. I think she is piloting a Zeppelin. Not only does this make sense in Piltover, but also because balloons were always part of Jinx's character. However, I don't believe this is just any kind of Zeppelin. Look behind her. That right there is the doll of Clagger. And on the other side, you have the mannequin of Milo. Jinx made these two after they died during her mental breakdown. And you know where these two were up until now? In Jinx's hideout, which was the wind turbine, which seemed to be dragged up, and now it was turned into an airship. That's right, here...
What the fuck? Jesus, okay.
Jinx is likely piloting her own base. And I find that
That's gonna be
incredibly
crazy.
badass. So, let's go into the finale of this. We have Vi after her rebel phase is over, because you can see the black is now fainting from her hair. Also, I'm pretty sure the Atlas gauntlets have new platings on them. She then goes up with Echo, which by the way, in the corner there, you might be able to see the airship. And then as
Oh,
she charges
yeah.
her gauntlet, we get a bunch of flashbacks. Rise is back. We know it is Rise because of the finger tattoos. They are exactly the same as they were in Arcane 1. In fact, this scene
Okay.
mimics a scene from Arcane 1. There we saw him holding the world in his hand, and now the world turned into a voidy mess, foreshadowing the possible destruction of the world by the void or the runes or... there is a lot of things. Then there is the young girl, which is one of the fanatics. You can see that she is a big fan of Jinx because she even tried to replicate the cloud tattoo on her shoulder. Based on the setup, it obviously reflects the very first scene from Arcane, the one where Vi and Jinx lost her parents, and we saw young Jinx devastated in the middle of the chaos. Also, from the previous scene, this is where Caitlyn reflected as the cruel warden. So I assume this is where Caitlyn realizes that what she's doing is quite bad. For a few seconds, we also saw Echo winding up the Z drive, so at the very least, it is confirmed that we are gonna see some of his timey powers. There is also a shot of Caitlyn being crushed by Cam Tank. Nothing to add here. After which we get this. A
That's
man
probably
sitting in front of
Jace.
the voidy mess, holding a cane, with a gem fused into his body. Now obviously, the first guy everyone thinks of is Jace. Jace is the one who always wore the crystal on the sleeve of his suit. This is the exact same gem that was given to him by Rise. And if Jace was there with Heimerdinger when the explosion went off, it makes sense that the magic of the Void Core would fuse the crystal with his body. Again, that's kind of what the Void does. It melts things together. And you can see that even the cane he's holding looks organic, which is why it likely originates from this semi-organic place. However, because he is holding a cane, there is the slight possibility it might also be Victor. First of all, there is nothing that would suggest that Victor can't just take the gem. I mean, there is technically also the possibility that Jace is dead, and Victor might have used his suit. I mean, Jace was there during the explosion. And if you look at everything that's happening, Victor's storyline would actually be a lot closer to everything that's happening here. He's the one who always used the Hex Core and later the Void Core to help with his own survival. He's the one that would be interested in what is happening around here. And if that's the case, then I am very scared of all the gold people. Because if they are using the voidy golden powers to evolve, then this might be the new glorious evolution. And that would be very far away from Victor's original lore. That would be like making a totally different character. So again, I'm not really sure what's happening here, but now I am intrigued. And yes, this is followed by another totally wild reveal. We get what
Silco.
seems to be the shadow of Silco, which is covered in vines and thorns and who has very vivid lines across his eyes. And anyone who knows the Noxian lore will freak out now. Because yes, it seems like LeBlanc was involved in this storyline the entire time. Now, in case you don't know, here is a super
Holy
TLDR
shit,
of who
imagine.
LeBlanc is. She is an incredibly powerful mage from Noxus, whose specialty is to manipulate people and trick their minds into doing specific things. And she's doing this so she can essentially turn people into powerful living weapons. I mean, she literally kidnaps children with magical powers to train them into super weapons. Annie and Rel are two good examples. But she's also manipulating people so she can collect powerful artifacts. Now, why would she do that? She needs to raise a powerful army to fight Mordekaiser, a warlord who conquered the world and then just decided to become the god of death. In the past, LeBlanc
What a
took on
badass.
the appearance of dead people to make up political relationships. She controls individuals to try and assassinate her opponents, and because she's operating from the shadows of Noxus, she is usually doing it all for the good of the Empire. Which means, in the case of Arcane, it is extremely likely that LeBlanc made Mbessa invade Piltover. Because Piltover is an incredibly important asset to Noxus, as well as her battle with Mordekaiser. Some people speculate that's why we got to see some of the creepy flashbacks in Arcane 1. All of that might have been LeBlanc giving Mbessa PTSD, so that she would have the motivation to invade Piltover after her daughter dies. Now, of course, LeBlanc would also need Mel to die, which is why she could manipulate Silco to raise Jinx, and eventually Jinx would be able to blow up the Council. Do you understand why this teaser is such a big deal now?
That is crazy.
LeBlanc is one of the most important characters in the entirety of League of Legends universe. She is technically behind the invasion of Ionia, the Noxian wars with Demacia, as well as a lot of different conquests into the other regions. So I really hope that this is not a bait and that there is some real meaning behind this. Also, I kind of forgot to mention that the reason why we believe that this is LeBlanc is because LeBlanc is from a cult known as the Black Rose. That's why you can see all the vines with the thorns on it. And also LeBlanc is kinda known for those lines across her eyes. I am pretty sure there is not another champion that fits this so well. Maybe besides the fact that there was technically one story where Nocturne was in Piltover, but I don't think that's happening here.
Nah,
Anyway, to
it's
finish
probably
this off,
LeBlanc.
we then get Vi fighting Warwick.
Oh,
who,
dude, I can't wait.
you know, is possibly Vander. And again, I love the symbolism of the two hounds on her back. We have Heimerdinger right before the possible explosion. We have Jinx trying to fire fish bones for the second time, but for some reason it explodes. Maybe the Hextech gem was spent and she didn't figure out how to reuse it. Also here you can see the paintings from her past, such as her parents arguing or Jinx killing Silco. And in the back, as I mentioned, you can see Janna. Just very faintly. And that is where it all ends. That is it. That is it for the trailer. This is gonna be
Jesus.
wild, honestly.
It is. It is gonna be
And
crazy.
I don't even know how long this video is gonna be. I mean, normal episode is what? Like 45 minutes long? This was 2 minutes of a trailer and it was turned into... Oh god.
Oh, dude. Holy shit, we even got Jaina there. LeBlanc. Holy shit. This is too much. This is too much, bro. Just imagine they made like a 5-minute trailer. This video would have been like a whole hour. God damn.